Thank you for having us back at Accelerate again this year. Excited to be here. Today's topic is cracking the compliance code, solutions for navigating the future of product safety and compliance. Now, I know I'm a little bit of a nerd, but that is one of my favorite topics. So I'm so excited to talk about all things related to compliance, answer questions for you, as well as talk about some of the really interesting innovations we've done over the last year, taking all of the feedback that we have from you from last year on board. My name is Rachel Grant. I'm a Senior Compliance Manager from the Regulatory Intelligence, Safety and Compliance Legal team here at Amazon. Now, if you've ever worked with Amazon Legal for a product compliance issue, you've likely worked with me or someone from my team.
Hey, and I'm Joe Matthew, Senior Manager, Seller Experience. Me and my team work day in and day out to simplify the compliance journey for you.
Thanks, Joe. So I'm going to address the first elephant in the room, risk with a C. What the heck? So I like to affectionately think we titled ourselves Risk with a C because we love compliance, and it helps everyone remember that we are the compliance for the Amazon store. Anything related to product compliance, come to us. So I'm going to talk about the agenda today and kind of what the topics that we're going to cover. First, I'm going to talk about, the journey that many of you have probably had with your compliance and listing at Amazon to date. And some of those frustrations, again, that we've heard at the previous Accelerates, even in the booth this week. I've talked with many of you. I know the frustrations you're feeling with, the compliance journey today. Joe, he's going to talk about the innovations we've put in place over the last 12 months and where we're moving to simplify and streamline the compliance journey on your behalf. And finally, we're going to personally address all of your compliance questions after we finish our presentation. Thanks, Joe. And just a reminder, please use the in-app QR code scanner to submit questions throughout this presentation. So, most of you should be familiar with this if you sell on Amazon, but what has the typical compliance journey looked like so far for an Amazon seller? Let's take James. James is a successful, seller. He has several brands in his portfolio. He sells everything from housewares to automotive parts to lawn and garden items. And he's decided, I want to get into the supplement business. I want to sell vitamins. He's excited about his new opportunity and expanding his business. James is able to create a listing. He's excited. He's just beaming with am I going to be able to see and do tomorrow? What am I going to see in my, account health dashboard? What am I going to see in my store? How many things am I going to be able to sell tomorrow? He wakes up and he says, whoa, what happened? Amazon enforced my listing for missing compliance information. What? And unfortunately, then goes a back and forth for several months between James and Amazon, where he tries to figure out how he can demonstrate that his vitamins are compliant. We give him information that he might not understand, and he has to hire someone to help him understand the compliance information to be able to demonstrate that he's compliant. Ultimately, he is able to demonstrate that he's compliant. We're able to validate, and he's able to, have those products relisted and purchasable, and he's able to see those sales, and he's excited. But unfortunately, it wasn't that quick process that he wanted and thought it was going to be. It took several months. And I know sellers are experiencing this or have experienced this in the past. And we hear you. We know this can be a frustrating process. And so we're really excited to come here today and talk about how we've streamlined and simplified compliance for you and what we're doing to make this more transparent. And also provide compliance information and do compliance on your behalf. So why is risk important? The core function of the risk program is really to make sure that our customers have a trustworthy shopping experience. We want to make sure that every product that they purchase is safe and compliant. So how do we do that? First, We do honestly make sure that every product in our store is not going to pose a risk of harm or injury to our customers. We also want to make sure that it complies with all of the relevant laws and requirements. If not, we remove it. What else do? We bias towards helping our selling partners enable their selection. We don't want to be an enforcement body. We want to help you have the broadest selection of product in our stores. And finally, as Rohan mentioned at our general session today, we are constantly innovating to streamline your compliance journey and simplify it as best we can. And we know we're not at 100% yet, but with the innovations we're going to be talking about today, we're getting closer. So I've talked a little bit about risk, talked a little bit about why compliance is important, again, to keep our customers safe. So what is Risk's global footprint? Is it just the US? Absolutely not. We have a global footprint. We are in all of the Amazon stores, so more than 20 stores globally. We have over 100,000 active compliance policies worldwide. And in 2024 alone, we've classified more than 200 million ASINs, impacting more than 1 million selling partners to date. What does that mean? It means our program is making sure that all of our stores are compliant, but also we need to give you the tools to understand that compliance. We hold you accountable to the compliance standards of each of those stores. And the resources that we provide are things like Seller Central, your account health dashboard, manage your compliance, and some really interesting innovations that Joe's about to talk about. So along with that global footprint, what exactly, do I need to focus on for compliance is a question that we got a lot in the booth. How do I know you're contacting me? You're just one piece of Amazon, and as much as I would love to think that risk is the most important part of Amazon, and I do affectionately think compliance is the most important part, there's many teams at Amazon that all of our selling partners work with. So when you're in your account and you see something that says food and product safety issues or restricted products policy violations, know that that's coming from the risk program, and that indicates that there may be a compliance problem and something you need to focus on. And unfortunately, it may even be a product listing issue and a product removal. Now, I also anticipate that you recognize this. Many sellers I've heard from the booth this year and last year have received these performance notifications. If you've ever wondered where they come from, they're also from the risk team. Anecdotally, I heard from a seller just yesterday saying, Rachel, what am I supposed to do with this performance notification? While we strive to be clear about what compliance is and when you have an issue, we try to tell you what that is. These notifications are cumbersome, they're lengthy, often they don't give enough clarity on what the actual issue is. I had a selling partner say, Rachel, I can't even figure out what I did wrong to remediate. Who do I talk to? There's no path forward. I want you to know we hear you. I understand this is frustrating. And one of the things we focus significant efforts on this year is how we communicate with our selling partners. We want to improve this and do better. So sorry, I don't mean to engage the audience, but this is going to be a show of hands. Can everyone raise their hand if you've ever had this experience? You've created a listing, you thought you were compliant, and then a day, 2 days, maybe a week later, your listing has been removed because of a compliance issue. Okay, unfortunately, almost everyone in the room raised their hands. I just want you to know we hear you. It can be a very frustrating experience. Joe's going to talk about the innovations we're doing, and this is going to correct those issues. One of the things we're taking over is we are going to work to manage compliance on your behalf So you don't have to worry about the back and forth, about the listing, delisting, listing again. Similarly, I'm sure many of you have had issues where you've wanted to comply. I know our selling partners always have the best intent, but they're just unsure of what to provide Amazon when they get those performance notifications. We're just not clear enough. And I want you to know, we hear you. I hope what resonates with you during this presentation is that we are moving away from this frustration, high effort, high just frustration journey. It's a high touch process that we don't want you to have to do any longer. We're moving towards a simplified, streamlined journey where we're going to take on compliance on your behalf, and where we can't, we're going to provide you the resources and support to help you enable compliance in a transparent and seamless way. So, at Accelerate last year, we talked about all of the things we wanted to do, and I'm here to say we've done them. We have listened to you, and we have moved away from the process I just explained. We have started to do amazing pilots where we are going to see James and you, our selling partners, be able to take a listing and not worry about the compliance. The headache is gone. Amazon is taking over. We've got it. And when we can't, you can trust us to give you the right information to help you list without any more concerns. Out with the old and in with the new. Joe? Excited to hear the innovations we've put in place over the last 12 months based on all of our selling partners' feedback.
Thank you, Rachel, for teeing this up. I've been eagerly waiting for this day where I can come and share all the amazing innovations we've been doing on your behalf over the last year. So let's start with what James's experience is going to look like moving forward, where we're moving compliance away from him and focusing on how we can enable compliance on his behalf, how we can act on his behalf and simplify this journey, moving compliance away from him and to us. Now, you're probably wondering, how do we do it? A lot of sellers have told us it's hard to get information from manufacturers. It's hard to get information from brand owners. And so how do you get the compliance information to validate this when we struggle? Well, let's take a look at what impact we've delivered in the last year. So far, year to date, we've touched about 1 million selling partners, about 10 million products that we've been able to source compliance information for, moving that burden away from you and to us. And how do we do this? We've onboarded about 23 regulatory databases worldwide. We've onboarded 6 certification associations, whom we are partnering with closely. We've processed millions of images that either you have submitted or we've processed through our fulfillment centers. And when we are not able to do that, we physically go and inspect the product so we can get this information on your behalf and validate compliance. From all these different sources, we are able to take this information, use some cutting-edge technology, map it against the product details that you provide us with, and ultimately source compliance for you and update our catalog with this information so you don't have to do that. And we're not done yet. We're going to scale more databases. We're going to be able to onboard more industry associations, and we're going to process more images, look for more sources of publicly available information where we can get this on your behalf and enable compliance. One area we want to double down on, and we had a session yesterday at the Partner Connect booth where some of y'all got this information. We want to multiply the number of certification associations that we're going to onboard. What this would mean is if you are part of that certification association and you have your products registered with them, we will be able to source compliance directly from them so you don't have to do that. And if you have not, we recommend that you partner with these associations. We will be providing this information proactively so you would know who are we onboarding with, what are the upcoming compliance plans, and it would simplify the journey for you to be able to engage with them. And once you do that, you don't have to worry about compliance anymore. When you create the listing, we will be able to source that information on your behalf from them. Some of you have mentioned that we're not able to get all this information. So what happens to the rest of the compliance journey? Well, we've got your back. When we are not able to source this compliance information, we're creating, in partnership with other internal Amazon teams, a progressive listing experience. And this is something you all have been waiting for. I know Rachel asked you all, how many of you have had the experience where you've created a listing, started inbounded inventory, started sales, and then you wake up one day and your listing's been enforced. And now you're stuck in this long process of compliance and you've lost all these sales. Well, this month we're going to be launching the progressive listing experience. And what does this mean? Well, we're going to move compliance from after the listing to in the listing experience. So you will be informed of your specific compliance obligations during the listing process, allow you to enable compliance in this experience, and ultimately prevent any downstream disruptions so you can do what you do best, which is continue to sell on Amazon. Well, let's take a look at the experience that you will see when we go live with this. On the left-hand side, this is the current experience where you see you submit the listing. If it passes all the quality checks, your listing goes live. And after the fact, we take the enforcement. And on the right-hand side is our new experience. In this experience, once you submit your listing, within minutes to a couple hours, we will be able to tell you whether your listing is in scope of any of our compliance checks, or if your listing is live, you would be able to go into your Manage Inventory dashboard, and you would be able to then take the next steps to inbound your inventory and continue selling your product. But if you do need to provide us with compliance information, and you do need to validate compliance, well, let's take a look at how we are simplifying that experience for you. There's a short video here that is going to walk you through exactly what this experience would look like. So when you click on the Fix Your Compliance, you'd be able to see the specific product requirements or documents that you need to provide us with. It's going to walk you through in a granular fashion all the different steps that you need to take in order to enable compliance. And the beauty about this is you don't need to have all the information at that point in time. As and when you get this information, you will be able to supply us with that information. And after you get all the information, only then you will be able to submit this information through which we will be able to validate the compliance and ensure that your product does not get enforced downstream of this. So it's a much more simplified experience. It's much more granular and much more transparent, telling you exactly what you need to do. And the other thing about it is, if for any reason we do reject your information today, and I think a lot of you have this frustration where you go into your dashboard and all you see is a reject status. You don't know why. You don't know what happened and what else is Amazon expecting from you. Well, in this experience, we will be able to surface to you specific reasons, giving you transparency and granularity into why we rejected a document or why an image that you submitted is not acceptable. And so you will know specifically the reason we took it down or we rejected and the specific reason that you would need to then prove with the next submission. So if everything works and your compliance is validated, you would then be able to go to your Manage Inventory dashboard and you can take the next actions. You would then be able to inbound your inventory and continue selling, so you don't have to worry about compliance and the downstream aspects of that. Moving on to transparency and granularity, I think we talked about it, and Rachel talked about how opaque our communication, our education is. We've heard a lot of feedback from sellers where y'all have indicated because of our communication being so vague, you need to rely on third-party services and consultants in order to be able to understand our communication, in order to be able to understand your compliance obligations. So what are we doing about it? Because we think that's a defect. We think we need to be able to give you all the information you need to be successful. So let's take a look at some of the innovations we've launched since we last met in order to streamline this process for you. The compliance reference tool, as you can see on the left here, some of you are familiar with it, but if you're not, you should be able to access it through the account health dashboard and through the manager compliance tool, where you will find the compliance reference tool. In there, you would be able to now drop an ASIN and be able to understand specifically what the compliance obligations are for that particular ASIN. How does this work for you? How does this help you out? Well, if you have an ASIN that you're selling in a particular store and now you want to sell it globally, well, if you drop that ASIN in there, it will be able to tell you the specific requirements you need in order to be able to sell this product globally. And not just that. If you're a seller who's looking to expand your selection, start selling new product, maybe manufacture new products, and you find similar ASINs on our catalog, you can take the similar ASINs, put them in that tool, and it will tell you specifically what the compliance obligations are. So that way upstream in your compliance journey on the supply chain, you will be able to understand your compliance obligations and know exactly what you need to do in order to sell that product on Amazon. And the good thing about this tool is that it's not just available on Seller Central. Earlier this year, we launched it on WeChat, so it's available on social media as well too. And through this, you would be able to access without even logging into your Amazon account, so you can have it on the move anywhere and everywhere to understand your compliance obligations. And we're going to scale this across more platforms and make it much more easier for you to access and get this information. It's not just about this experience. And I know we have a lot of educational content that we throw at you. And so on the right-hand side, we've got an example of a video that we've launched and several others that we've done this year, where we're moving away from high-text content to something that is more simple, intuitive. And so we've got more of these videos where you can take a look at exactly what the compliance obligations are. And not just that, it also walks you through the specific process for how you would enable compliance on your Seller Central journey. So that way it's like a standard operating procedure that simplifies how you can enable compliance once you have all your compliance artifacts. Why just stop at education? Like, we want to simplify this even further in your journey, right? And Rohan earlier today talked about how we are streamlining this journey, how we're unifying the experience, and how we're trying to synthesize all of this for you into a one-stop shop experience. Over the last year, you've seen a lot of our email experiences transition into a dashboard experience. You've seen where we've had multiple dashboard experiences start to converge into a singular dashboard experience. And that's what we are promising you here with this experience. We want to get to a streamlined, unified experience where it is much more intuitive, it's simple, and you don't need to worry about the number of places on the Seller Central that you now need to go to and enable compliance for. The experience that you would see is similar to what you had seen in the video. So it's a unified experience. It walks you through the granular steps and ultimately tells you if you missed a step, what that step is, and if you've passed all those steps, that you've successfully enabled compliance for. Earlier this year, we also launched the Direct Validation Program. This was with an intent to do two things. One is to be able to simplify your compliance journey, so you will no longer have to submit documents. We believe documents are defects. And that way, we will be able to directly validate this compliance from the service provider whom you've got your product tested with. And secondly, it helps to weed out bad actors. It helps to move away from the possibility of sellers or bad actors submitting fraudulent documents. And so this way, we can directly validate compliance from the source of truth. And I know this is not a perfect experience. I think we've got a lot of feedback in the last year around how, over this year, around how this is highly complex, how the selection of labs is not enough, and how we can do better in order to simplify this experience. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here in the near future. What we're going to be doing is creating more labs, creating a platform where you would be able to see transparent pricing, where you would be able to see the provider performance so you can know exactly what you're signing up for and who you're signing up with, so you're not left with any surprises as you go through your compliance journey. Another fan favorite, I'm sure that a lot of you have been asking for, is the manufacturer lot code solution. This is one where last year we talked about how we are moving from an ASIN to a listing level enforcement. And this takes this even further. It gets down to a manufacturer lot code. So if you ever have a problem of a recall, or you ever have a problem where you need to change your packaging for compliance reasons, today you struggle with having to have your ASIN enforced until you have inventory removed and then bring in new inventory in order to manage compliance. Well, with this solution, you would be able to continue listing on your product, you would be able to continue selling your ASIN, have all your reviews, so you don't lose any of that while we handle the non-compliant product or selection at that granular grain. So that's going to be a game changer, and I'm more excited to get that to you in the coming months. A couple other areas that we're going to be focusing on in the next ahead of us is going to be a lot of you all have talked about how it is hard to access listing information, to edit listings if you are not the brand owner. And so what do we do about it? You're stuck with the back and forth with seller support, where you're not able to remove claims, where you're not able to fix listings because you don't have access to it. And so what we are going to be doing and what we are dialing up, and some of you may have already experienced, is the ability to do this on your behalf. So if you're ever unable to edit a listing, or if you ever need help in order to make changes to a listing to be compliant with our policies, we will do that for you. And finally, another area of concern that you've raised is when you reach out to us through our Tier 1 support, our frontline support, they are not able to give you the granular details that you need. They're more generic. They guide you to some of the email communication that you think is vague. They guide you to your help pages that, again, you don't think is effective enough. And while we fix all of those things, what we're also going to be doing is allowing you to engage with subject matter experts who will be able to walk you through in real time what are your compliance obligations, why was your product enforced, and what steps you need to take in order to enable compliance. And so this has begun, and some of you have already experienced this. We've started making outbound calls. We've started engaging with you and helping you understand your compliance obligations as you go through this journey. All of these innovations that we've talked about is only the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that me and my team are working on in order to simplify this journey for you. And I'm so excited that I was able to share with you these innovations, and I can't wait for what lays ahead of us.
Thanks, Joe. I don't know about you, but I am so excited to hear about those innovations that you just laid out in front of us and the journey that we're about to have with our selling partners. I cannot wait to be able to take on compliance on your behalf. So I'm going to do a bit of a recap, and I hope that you've heard us. Again, I want you to know, bye Russ, bye Travis. I want you to know that we are serious. We care about you as our selling partners. We want to take this on for you. We know that this is a challenge. We have heard you loud and clear. This is a top priority for us, improving the compliance listing experience and journey for our selling partners. We are working tirelessly to streamline where we can, take on compliance on your behalf, expand the pilots that we've put into place. And to that end, when we can't take on compliance on your behalf, we're working to use our global footprint, our scale, and our compliance knowledge to help be more transparent and give you the right level of support to be able to enable compliance for yourselves in a very simple way, to remove all of the compliance headache and frustration you felt in the past. Finally, Joe, those innovations, again, super excited to see what we can do in the next year. From the progressive listing experience to the more intuitive dashboard and tools that your team is building out, to all of the work that the global team is doing. I'm so excited, putting our selling partners first. And those sneak peeks, wow. I cannot wait to be here at next year's Accelerate, talking about the innovations we've been able to bring forth in the next 12 months and in the next year, allowing our selling partners to do what they do best, expanding their businesses and focusing on what matters. We'll take care of the compliance.